Welcome back to a Celtic State of Mind. I'm Paul John Dykes. This afternoon I'm joined by Kevin McCluskey and Chris McElwain. We're here, of course, to talk about Celtic 2, Hibernian 1. We go in with the lead, Kevin McCluskey. It was all Celtic the first half, a couple of chances by Hibs. We've got to be 100% aware and alive to the breakaway, and that's exactly what happened. We allowed them to break away. First time, Schmeichel makes a brilliant save. Second time, we're not alive to it. Trusty, for me, has to be much better. He needs to be more decisive. And we go a goal down, and you think to yourself, we've dominated the entire half here, yet we're a goal down. Did well to come back, though, Kev, and an entertaining first half, actually.
Yeah, I think it's been a really good first half. Like it's a line I say from time to time on this. It's, if you're a neutral watching that game, I bet you're sitting loving it. But there was a few moments as a non-neutral watching that game. It was not so much fun. Like that moment there, you see when Hibs score. But I think it's been a really good first half. It's been an entertaining game. I think Hibs have come with a game plan, which is to kind of frustrate us, but not in the pure negative way that some teams will come and set up and be completely defensive and have no intent to go forward and score. They've been really well organised. You can tell the defence is supremely well drilled. Like I was checking back some stats there, they've lost only 3 games since the end of November. And they've won the majority of them, but they've only lost three, two to us and one to Aberdeen a couple of weeks ago. So you can tell that they're a team that's on form. They're understanding each other's game, and they've made it really difficult for us with that defensive structure that they've got, and they've got players that can hurt teams on the break. Martin Boyle, goal scorer, being one, Campbell being another, and Kukurevich. So they've caused us problems. The goal that they get comes from that that typical route and area that we know is our weak link, because it's a high ball into Greg Taylor on the left hand side. You see it there. He goes for, well, I say he goes to the challenge with Kukurevich. He doesn't go to challenge Kukurevich. He motions forward, realizes he's got no chance, and ducks out of it.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as that happened, we're on the back foot because the ball goes straight to Cadden. Taylor does his best to try and get back, but because he's not got that physical presence to even challenge in the first place, we're on the back foot. Decent cross. Campbell gets his shot away, and yeah, I think Trusty's got to do better with that one. He's got to get more behind his clearance, more behind the block, and if nothing else, I think one of your first rules of defending is don't play it towards your penalty spot into that area. If you're going to try and get a touch in it, move it forward or move it out wide and not back into the middle. So it's a poor goal for us to lose. Give them credit because it wasn't the first time that they'd got in behind. But like you say, I think we've shown a lot of character to come back, or not, or to come back in the sense of we were a goal down and now we're 2-1 up. But we were never out of the game at any moment. I felt we've always been in control. I perhaps would like us to play with a bit more intensity at times. I thought that was lacking, but that's probably down to how well organised Hibs have been. But we've really controlled that first half. I think Hatate's been really good. You know, he's the one that's trying to play those probing through passes whenever the slight chance has been there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's been the little balls over the top. And, you know, we're good at them. We've got good at them this season. McGregor, especially with the little kind of pitching wedge pass over the top. Ralston's done it a few times today. We know we're good at that. We know if we plug away, we'll get chances. We've got two, and we've been clinical when we've had those chances. You know, missed a couple earlier on, but we've kept on going. Great movement, great anticipation in the first goal to make the run off Idah to get into it, and then the man himself, Idah, probably scores the most difficult chance that he's had in that first half, because he had two ones earlier on that were a bit easier. And I can see Chris reacting, because I was thinking during that, you know, Idah will come in for pelters in the comments at half time if we're not in front. I might have been one that would have given him pelters for it, because I feel like he should have scored at least one of those chances earlier. And if the striker doesn't score, it's always noticed. But he doesn't give up. He's stuck at it. He's got the goal that his hard work is deserved. And for us to be 2-1 up at half time, I think is a pretty fair reflection in that first half.
Yeah, there's lots to actually focus on there, Kev. And there's a lot of comments coming in relation to some of the players you mentioned, and I think it's only fair to bring them up as well. I get that, up to the point that Idah scores the goal, he was having a frustrating afternoon. I have been speaking all season about the fact that we need to get over the fact that we paid £9.5 million for this player. He's part of a squad that's going for a treble. He was a major part in the Champions League in terms of us progressing. However, he was having a very, very frustrating afternoon, to the point where it would have been difficult at half-time to defend that performance. Then he scores, like Kev says, the hardest chance out of them all. I mean, you've got to make sure you time your runs properly. You can't be offside as often as that in a Celtic jersey. These are like basic things. On Friday, Chris, I'm going to bring up somebody. Some of them are off the scale going in on Idah, and it's important, I think, to look at that and say, yeah, I don't think he's had a good first half, but he scored the goal. He's done what he's there for, right? We had a chat on Friday with Alan Morrison. Kevin and Graham and I had a chat about what type of striker is Idah, because he was trying, I think, Chris, after his wee night out, he was trying to do everything. He was trying to be every striker. He was trying to drop deep and do the Hugo thing. He was trying to go down the channels on the right and on the left. Whereas I think we kind of settled on the fact that he's much better just trying to be Giakoumakis. Just stay in the box. Stay in the box. Try and get the end of chances and score goals. That was a frustrating watch in the first half, the big man. But he scores the goal and he puts us 2-1 up at a point where I think we were all going to go in studs up on him at half time, Chris. Is he just that type of player? He's been called enigmatic. He's an enigma. Is he that type of player? He's going to prove you wrong time and time again. 19 goals this season.
I think what he does is he gives you a shift. And he really does give you a shift. I thought he put himself about well in that half. I agree, the point on onside. I think there's only so many times where you can compliment Hibs for holding the line, or you can say the ball was maybe overhit. The striker's got to take some responsibility to keep himself onside and to give that the suppliers the right out ball. But I think what he has done, and we've seen it for both goals, is when he gets the timing right, he is very, very dangerous and impactful in and around that box. I mean, he is, as much as Ralston puts in a brilliant hoofer of a punch to...
Wait a minute. Outside of the boot.
The weirdest technique I've ever seen for that.
It was beautiful.
Brilliant. It was tremendous. I'd love
if Maldini did that, right?
Absolutely.
Just because it's the bricky. Come on, let's give them all.
Listen, I'm complimenting them. I was impressed with it. I'd love to get one of those Panini stickers of just the freeze frame of his foot out to the side the way he hit it. It was absolutely tremendous. But Idah, I think, largely creates the chance following that pass because he ties up Rocky. Now, Rocky's a big, solid unit as well, and he's kind of muscled Idah. But the fact is, Idah's got him tied up, and it allows Kuhn to nick in. And that was the first time I thought he made a really meaningful, well-timed run. And then obviously the second one, he times to perfection, and it's a great finish. And we know he's got a good finish on him. But I think both of you make really good points. Adam's at his best when he's doing the basic fundamental job of a striker, which is in and around the box. Just straight line runs, in and out the box, keeping him onside and being on the receiving end for those either balls coming over the top, the little dinks that Kev referenced, the pitch and wedge. I love that term, the pitch and wedge pass that comes from McGregor, for example. And we've seen that is if we can circumvent their high line trying to play us offside, if we can get in behind and time it right, we'll get an abundance of chances against Hibs because they're playing a very high line. So I think there will be opportunities, and I think this type of game, the efforts of Idah keep plugging away, not letting the head go down, just keep plugging away. He'll eventually get you goals, and indeed that's what happened. So I think if he hadn't contributed to both the goals, he would have come in for a lot of stick because he was offside. Even the chances he had, which were flagged offside, he didn't take well. He didn't look like a player playing with confidence. But it's a measure of a player's character that they continue plugging away and they continue, just trying to get that breakthrough, and ultimately he did. So, yeah, I think he comes away the second half with a bit of credit, certainly more credit than he would have had had he not got the goal.
Yeah, and it was the assist of the season by Tony Ralston. I will let anybody say
Absolutely.
otherwise.
I'm blown away by that.
Beautiful
Made it
pass.
look immense. It was superb.
Yeah. Ewan Boy Martin's at the game today. Very frustrating so far, says Ewan. Idah at least 7 times in an offside position when we've played balls in. Yeah, the goal changes the conversation at half time, but we can't ignore the fact that, one-on-ones, he had one against Rangers last week. He misses it and they go up the park and score. He needs to be more clinical, needs to be more decisive. Pete, don't understand with league over why Bernardo's not getting a start. And just one B team player on the bench, if not now, when? I was thinking in the first half, because it's something we touched on before the game, guys, right? I was thinking in the first half, why not play these players? You know what? Maybe it's something as simple as this. Maybe Brendan Rodgers doesn't think they're good enough. And that's a much bigger issue than Brendan Rodgers not being prepared to play them. Because we mentioned at the beginning of the game, Rodgers was asked the question. He went straight to his back catalogue of players that he's introduced at a young age. He used a 16-year-old as an example. He's maybe looking at the young guys going, what are you serving me up here? These guys are not ready for the first team. That's a much bigger problem, Kevin McCluskey, isn't it? Because you're then looking at the youth, the academy, who's running the academy, why we're not producing players. In Scottish football terms, at a certain age, we should have the pick of the crop in Scotland and further afield, and we're not producing footballers. So maybe it's as simple as that. We're banging our head against a wall saying, Brendan's not giving youth a chance. He's probably looking at them thinking, they're not good enough. And that's a big issue for Celtic, if you ask me, Kev.
Yeah, it might be as simple as that. That might be the answer. We talk a lot as well about, there's a whole team of young players that have left us and gone on to clubs in bigger leagues down south, or the two boys that went to Bayern Munich, Morrison and Hepburn. None of them have made it anywhere. So, we all get frustrated when these boys leave because we're thinking, it's another young talent that's leaving us, and why have we not given them the pathway? Why have we not given them the chance? It might be plain and simple as they're just not good enough, because when they've gone on elsewhere, they haven't progressed. Right, it's a tough order for the two boys at Munich to make it into that team, but they haven't gone on to anything since. I think Liam Morrison's struggling to get a game at QPR, and the last I knew, Hepburn was at Dunfermline and wasn't doing very, very well there either. I'm not sure where he is now.
He's without a club.
Without a club.
Yep.
So
and he has been for almost a year. That's a worry.
For a year. Yeah, it's a massive worry then. Because when he left, he was touted as a big talent. So maybe, like you say, we're just not producing the young players, which is a massive concern because Celtic's history has been steeped on bringing through young players. Somebody wrote a book about the Quality Street gang, it was a young group of players that have come through from Celtic, from the youth teams. We've always done it. Although, as I say that, we haven't always done it because for the last 25 years, we haven't done it. Very few players have made it in that period of time. And it's a concern because we all sit here and we get excited that Sean McArdle's on the bench at 17 years old because we want to see one of us making it. And if the talent's not there, it's a concern. We've got the money to be going out there and getting the best coaches for that level that can develop young players. We should have the scouting network to be bringing in the best young players from Scotland, from Ireland, from further afield in Europe, Australia, where we have a network. We should be having a network of clubs out there. So it's a concern that we're not doing it. Yeah, and I'm not saying that's probably the case with Bernardo. I'm not sure why he's not in the team, actually, because I think he's good enough. So I'm hoping that it's not a reason that Brendan doesn't think he's good enough. But I think it must be for the young boys, which is a concern, yeah.
Massively, absolutely. Now, we're just bringing this up. HRIMR. Thanks for making your username easy to pronounce. That ball from Ralston was fantastic. Unique technique. Yes, it was. And we do get a lot of people really frustrated at halftime. And by the end of the game, if we win the game, it changes a little bit. But this is the feeling that we're getting at the moment from Danny Boy. Idah is the worst excuse for the centre forward I've ever seen, sitter after sitter. I never want to see him in a hoop shirt ever again. Danny Boy. Danny. I mean, listen.
It's a bit harsh.
He was
even I wouldn't say that.
He was
just remember Colin Chasm Richards, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, but I mean, he was frustrating in the first half, and he scores a really instinctive goal. And he timed his run perfectly, and he showed us what he can do. I'll tell you what, right? I've stood up for him this season. I've stood up for Engels, and I would argue the toss for both players. But I think with Idah, he's got bags and bags of development to come. I really do. We were talking yesterday about specific coaches, because my Idah had made a post on Instagram, I think it was, around Harry Kewell and how Harry Kewell had helped him at Celtic and stuff like that. We then spoke to Alan Morrison about bringing somebody in who could work with Adam Idah, and Alan was like, absolutely, bring it on, because you've got set piece coaches, you've got throw-in coaches. Why not bring in a striker coach and develop that player? I'm going to stick up for Adam Idah. I'm going to say he was murder for 44 minutes and then he scored a goal. And I hope he scores another one in the second half as well. Remember, he was getting a lot of stick when he went into that Aston Villa game and he scored the 2 goals against Aston Villa. Danny, I know it's emotional, mate. I'm not having a dig at you. There's loads of comments like this. But we're 2-1 up. The other person I think obviously merits a mention, Rio Tatis ran the show, is Nicholas Kuhn. Nicholas Kuhn scoring a goal. Brilliant finish, by the way. And also setting a goal up. He's got a little injury under his left eye as well. His eyebrow's got a wee plaster on there. I'm not sure if he's gone up for a header at training and got a wee elbow somewhere along the line. But Nicholas Kuhn's been brilliant in that first half as well, hasn't he?
Is Tosh McKinley still at the club?
Tosh, well, yeah, you better watch. By the way, they're about to kick off. We're banged on so much. The Celtic team are just coming back on the park. No, Tosh McKinley, he might have stuck the.
Might have had a word. Might have had a word with Kuhn. Yeah, I'll look very, very quickly because I can see the team's coming out. I think Kuhn he took his goal very, very well. I think he was having similar frustrations, continually trying to get the shot and it was getting blocked. And I was actually wondering if he should be trying to play more through balls. I noticed there was one for Engels that could have played in, but nice to see him back in the score sheet. Like to see him smile a wee bit more, but I think that's maybe just his character. But we'll hopefully see more in the second half. But yeah, good to see him amongst the goals again.
Absolutely. Let's go and enjoy that second half, and let's hope that Idah scores a hat trick and I can come back to Danny Boy, and he might have changed his mind. Thanks everybody for getting involved. Join us at full time on A Celtic State of Mind.